Stephen A. Smith said this morning, and by the way, we are all Stephen A. Smith fans over here. So when Stephen A. speaks, I think it's coming from somewhere. He's been around a long time. He makes a lot of money for good reason, by the way. He is a conversation starter. Who knows how everybody feels about him at all times. But over here, we enjoy what Stephen A. Smith does. Okay, I actually asked the NFL to include Stephen A. in the MVP video announcement for Aaron Rodgers and the social thing because of how big of a fan I am and we are of Stephen A. And I just think he works his ass off, which is really cool. But he came in this morning on First Take and he said, I have on good authority. And then Max even popped in there and said, hey, no, listen, when Stephen A. says on good authority, you know what that means?
It's gospel.
You better be listening.
Yeah.
You know what that means? I found that very funny. I was like, okay, so in the production meeting beforehand, Stephen A. told Max, they told like, hey, this is what I was told by you, and then Max was like, and he said, well, I'm gonna make sure motherfuckers know this is coming from a real good spot.
Double down.
I'm like, hey, whenever he says it, he says, I have on good authority that Aaron Rodgers walked into an office and they told him basically shut up and play. Like, hey, we'll worry about this, you play. Now, listen, I don't think every football player should be able to have say in the decisions that are made in billion-dollar franchises and teams and everything like that, okay? I don't think every player should have that. I don't think anybody other than a quarterback position in the NFL should have any say in, not yet, maybe Aaron Donald. Like if Aaron Donald decides like, hey, I would like to make some, like I think you have to earn your way into that conversation. I got a chance to watch it with Peyton, obviously. Andrew, I wanted Andrew to do more of that actually. I think that was something a lot of us in the locker room that saw Peyton operate wish that Andrew, like, hey Andrew, like you can go in there and say, no, I want this guy. No, I want this guy. You can do that type of stuff. We didn't tell him that, obviously, because we're kicker and punter Vinatieri. We should not say that. But we thought that while watching Andrew. Like, wish he had a little bit more asshole in him. Wish he had a little bit more, nah, we're not doing that. Why not? Because I don't want to do it. I'm fucking your quarterback. If I don't want it, we don't want it. This is just how it's going to go. I'm not going to abuse my power, but there's going to be a couple things here that if I say, like Griff Whalen, for instance, him and Andrew, whenever Griff was on the field, if there was a third down that we needed, Griff Whalen might have been just activated the day before to play on special teams. If Griff Whalen made his way onto the field, Griff Whalen was getting the ball on third down for a first down because he had been doing that at Stanford for 3 years straight and he was his roommate or whatever. So, like, that's one of those decisions where I wished Andrew knew what he was able to do. I wish Andrew knew that the power that he really did have if he wanted to have it. Now, with that being said, Peyton and we wished Andrew, and Andrew wasn't like that, by the way. Andrew was just a, hey, let's play football. I'm here to play football. They make the decisions. I'm just focusing on football, which is cool, 100% cool. I wish he would have been a little bit more of an asshole, but he was just super nice, great teammate. But I wish he was a little bit more demanding. We had an owner, though. So, like, if Peyton really wanted something, I assume he would walk right to Jim Irsay's office and he would say, hey, this is how this is going down. Or he would probably do it a little bit more diplomatically. Hey, is there any way we could potentially do this instead of doing that? And Jim, brother parts, what's going on? Why? Oh, the guys are mad. Oh. You know, like there's that situation that can happen. Now, Mark Murphy acts as the owner, I guess, right? He acts as the owner, but he doesn't. He does not. He is not the owner. So I guess you would hope that Aaron would be able to walk into Mark's and say, hey, is there any way that we can try this instead of this? Is there any way we could try this instead of this? And at this point, I think Aaron has earned the ability to have that conversation. And there's some other people who've come out and said, like, that's not how the NFL works or whatever. Like, maybe not for you, motherfucker. You're not a Mount Rushmore in the history of the NFL. Yeah. This is Aaron Rodgers. Tom Brady, by the way, it was one of the main reasons why he was like, I'm done with this. By the way, he goes down to Tampa, they win a Super Bowl as soon as they start listening to him. Just something. Now, Bruce Arians said, shit, if Tom asked me, he doesn't want to throw him with Tom. Hey, Tom, I don't give a fuck. Listen, we're going to work here. We need to know the offense. We got to do that. But hey, if you want this, because BA said, I know who the top 2 wide receivers are going to be. If he wants to pick 3, 4, and 5, that's cool with me, but I know who the top 2 are or whatever. I'll let Tom do that or whatever. Like, that's the relationship I think that everybody around the NFL who is a super duper face of a franchise, elite quarterback, going to be in the Hall of Fame definitely, would like to be able to have those conversations, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's that person on the field trying to make the play. That is that person on the field who has to take and be basically, I mean, the coach gets it as well, but the quarterback is the one that's going to be judged ultimately on all of the decisions that are made around him. The quarterback position is one, it's called the greatest team sport in the world because there are so many different people that are involved on a team, from the kicker and punter to a safety linebacker to a nose tackle. I mean, just, you get it. It is a combination of efforts of a lot of people, and they all have to be in sync for something to happen. Mark Schlereth told us that for a number one wide receiver to get the ball, the center needs to snap the ball, the tackles need to protect the quarterback, and the quarterback needs to accurately deliver a pass for the number one wide receiver to get the ball. Number one wide receiver, very, 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 very important, okay? Everybody else, very, very, very important. But when you talk about the quarterback position, they are judged solely on their wins and losses, which is such a better indicator of the team around them than it is about them themselves. Now that the quarterbacks have learned this, they've seen this, this is now how everybody's going to be judged on how everything works. My legacy is going to be defined by the number of I do this, I do this. I've worked my ass off since I was a kid to get to this point. Now we're talking about how we'll be written in the history books and everything like that. You could see how guys would be like, is there any way we can get this guy in here? Is there any way we can keep this guy here? Why? Love him. Don't overpay him, but love this guy. You could see how somebody would finally get to the point where they go, the fuck's going on, dude? And that's the world we live in. Old school people hate this. Players play, coaches coach. It's like that was cool in high school and little league, but this is adults now where a lot of money is made. And by the way, there's a lot of football IQ. Aaron, I think, is he older than LaFleur?
I don't think so.
Close to LaFleur's
right.
age. Aaron's been in the NFL longer than LaFleur has been in the NFL. So let's assume that his brain is also a pretty good one when it comes to decisions, when it comes to playing football. So the people that say like, no, that's all, you're just supposed to do this, you're supposed to do this. Cool. I think there are players that just enjoy doing that, and that is a way to go about it. But whenever you're invested, you want your quarterback, by the way, to want to make decisions. Like, you should want Aaron to want to be involved in, like, hey, this is better for all of us. This is better for all Packers. This is better for our building. This is better for our team. Curly Lambeau right now would be pumped about everything that's going on right now if we do a couple of these things. And instead, the answer, it seems like, we don't know personally, is like, keep your stupid shit to yourself. You're talking about one of the smartest players in the history of the game. Like, smart as in football cerebral. He's the host of fucking Jeopardy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, smart guy. Let's assume his opinion should carry weight. And if you were somebody that was in charge, and John Lynch said this about Kyle Shanahan, he said, ultimately in the contract, it says that I, the GM, make the final decision. But if I'm picking a quarterback, I would be very stupid to not ask Kyle Shanahan what his thoughts are on the quarterback. So this is very much a group effort, and that's what you want to see, right? You want to see somebody in charge who's okay with listening to other people's ideas or opinions. And I think if Aaron Rodgers has an idea on what wide receiver he likes throwing the fucking ball to, I would assume that he would like to be heard about that. And if you were somebody who's making a decision, why would you not listen to the guy who has to make the throws, who's been here for 16 years, who you've paid a lot of money, who's one of the face of the Packers at this point, and he's also the guy ultimately who's going to have to work with this person.
Yes.
Why would you not want to, unless you were just a stubborn, I don't want to say narcissist, but stubborn person who thinks that they're like, they know smarter than everybody else, which I guess maybe that's what you have to feel if you're a general manager in the NFL or president in the NFL.
Well, and I guess, like, if you don't have an owner, you know, that ego can kind of get inflated to, like, you start thinking, like, well, I'm the de facto owner of this team, you know? But it is, like, that's what's so irritating and frustrating, is because he's not asking for, like, autonomous power. It's just like, hey, I just want to sit at the table. I just want to be able to throw my 2 cents. And I don't think if he doesn't get, you know, what he wants on every single, you know, like, he's not asking for roster control. And you go back to how public it was after LaFleur got hired. He kind of just said, you know, he had just come off like this rough ending with Mike McCarthy. He's like, hey, I'd like to be involved in, or at least know who you guys are going to interview and stuff. Yeah, exactly. And the quote that came out from Mark Murphy was just like, hey, you can't be the problem. Like, just don't be the problem.
So, and then, by the way, people were talking as if Mark Murphy was right there. Like, yeah, Aaron is the problem because there's, 2-3 teammates that Aaron didn't get along with or whatever, and they've gone to the media and said that painted the picture of this guy being a terrible guy, and he has chosen to never answer.
Right.
which I think the people who probably don't like him should respect a lot more, that he refused to bow down to bullshit stories about him and decided to kill them with indifference. He actually told us that. First question I had for him when I met him down in the Bahamas, first time we ever sat down and like chatted. We had followed each other. We had followed each other on the internet, on Twitter. You know, we had a twirlationship, but we had never sat down
shaking hands
and chat or whatever. So 5-10 minutes, we're talking. I feel like, okay, we're comfortable. He gets me, I get him. We know each other, right? We follow each other. We know each other.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like we know it. He knows a lot more about me. I don't know much about him, but I feel like I can say something. Why don't you ever come out and say like, hey, that's bullshit or whatever? And he was like, I have to answer everything that's ever said about me. Like, that's not something I want to do. I decided long ago I'll just kill him with indifference or something like that. And I'm like, I wish you would have came out a long time ago and said that you were just going to kill him with indifference, because that's a great line. I would have loved hearing that. But also in doing so, which is a respectful move, by the way, I respect it. Just like, hey, I ain't got the time to deal with the bullshit. Like, I don't have time to deal with it. And those things all mount up, especially with the way the internet is. So they all kind of combine on each other, snowball effect. They just kind of go and go and go. And he was just like, nah, I'm not fucking answering any of that. I don't. What, they make something up and I got to come be their little puppet? I ain't doing that.
No
like,
thanks.
I have so much respect for that. And the people that probably hate him, if they heard that is how they would almost have more respect for him than they ever imagined. I think that's why our conversations with him this year were so important. Like,